If you can't stop thinking about someone who barely notices you exist, someone who's made it crystal clear they're not interested, then what I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about attraction, obsession, and your own heart. Because here's the truth your grandmother wishes someone had told her at 25. You're not actually obsessed with that person. You're obsessed with a part of yourself you've never learned to love. And Carl Jung, the brilliant Swiss psychologist, discovered exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how to break free from it once and for all. If you're ready for some life-changing psychology that your grandmother wishes she'd learned decades earlier, you might want to subscribe, because we're about to dive deep into the hidden workings of your heart. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah. Beautiful, successful, 32 years old, and absolutely tormented by a man who treated her like an afterthought. For 8 months she couldn't stop checking his social media, analyzing every brief text exchange, and lying awake wondering what she'd done wrong. Everyone told her the same thing: he's just not that into you. Move on. But Sarah couldn't move on. The more unavailable he became, the more consumed she felt. Sound familiar? Now I've been around long enough to see this pattern destroy countless people, brilliant, worthy individuals, who lose themselves completely to someone who wouldn't cross the street to help them. And for years I wondered, why do the smartest, most capable people become utterly irrational when it comes to unrequited love? Then I discovered Carl Jung's work, and everything clicked into place. Jung made a discovery that rocked the psychology world. What we think is romantic obsession is actually something much deeper and more mysterious. He called it projection, and it's the reason you can't get that unavailable person out of your head. Here's what's really happening in your mind. That person you're obsessed with, they've become a movie screen, and you're projecting onto them all the qualities, all the life experiences, all the parts of yourself that you desperately want but believe you can't have. Think about it. What exactly draws you to this person who doesn't want you? Is it their confidence, their freedom, their creativity, their apparent ability to not need anyone? Jung discovered that we don't fall in love with people, we fall in love with what they represent about our own unlived potential. Sarah wasn't obsessed with that emotionally unavailable man. She was obsessed with his apparent self-sufficiency, his ability to remain detached, his freedom from needing validation from others, all the things she'd never learned to cultivate in herself. But there's an even darker layer to this psychology. Jung called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we've disowned, rejected, or been taught to hide. Here's where it gets really interesting. Often, we become obsessed with people who embody our own rejected quality. Let me explain with a story my grandmother told me. She once knew a woman named Margaret, proper, always in control, who became dangerously fixated on the town's bad boy. Everyone thought it was just physical attraction, but my grandmother saw something deep. Margaret's shadow contained all the wildness, spontaneity, and rebellious energy she'd spent decades suppressing. The bad boy wasn't attractive because he was inherently special. He was attractive because he represented everything Margaret had taught herself she couldn't. Your obsession might not be about wanting that person. It might be about wanting permission to embody the qualities they represent. The confidence, the mystery, the apparent emotional freedom you've convinced yourself you don't possess. Here's the cruel irony. The more you chase someone who embodies your projected qualities, the more you abandon those same qualities within yourself. Sarah spent so much energy trying to win over Mr. Unavailable that she stopped developing her own self-sufficiency. She became more needy, more anxious, more desperate, the opposite of what had attracted her to him in the first place. Jung called this the projection trap. You give away your power to someone else, then wonder why you feel so powerless. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, the person you're obsessing over isn't even who you think they are. You're in love with your own imagination, your own projection of what they could be or what being with them could give you. I've seen people spend years pining for someone, only to finally get their attention and realize, wait, this person is actually kind of boring. The spell breaks the moment reality replaces projection, but knowing this intellectually isn't enough. Your heart doesn't care about psychology, it just wants what it wants, right, wrong. Your heart is actually trying to tell you something incredibly important. Jung believed that every obsession is a message from your unconscious mind, a roadmap to the parts of yourself you need to reclaim. Think about the last person who completely consumed your thoughts. Now ask yourself, what qualities did they have that you found irresistible? What did you imagine life with them would feel like? What parts of yourself felt more alive when you were around them? Your answers reveal what Jung called your unlived life, the aspects of your personality and potential that you've never fully developed. That confident person you can't stop thinking about. Your psyche is telling you it's time to develop genuine self-confidence. That creative, free-spirited person who barely texts you back. Your unconscious is screaming that you need more creativity and freedom in your own life. That mysterious person who keeps you guessing. You're being called to develop your own sense of mystery and depth. But here's where most people get stuck. They think the solution is to become more like the person they're obsessing over. That's still projection, just in reverse. The real solution is what Jung called shadow integration, learning to love and develop the disowned parts of yourself without needing another person to give you permission. Remember Margaret and the bad boy? The breakthrough came when she stopped trying to tame him and started asking herself, where in my life do I need more spontaneity? Where have I been too rigid, too controlled? She started taking salsa dancing lessons. She bought a motorcycle. She quit her soul-crushing corporate job and started a small business. As she integrated her own rebellious energy, her obsession with the bad boy completely dissolved. He didn't change, she did, and suddenly, what had seemed like the most important relationship in the world became irrelevant. So how do you actually do this? How do you take back the power you've been giving away to someone who doesn't even want it? Step 1. Name your projection. Write down exactly what qualities attract you to this person. Be specific. Confident isn't enough. Confident how? In what situation? What does their confidence look like that yours doesn't? Step 2. Find your shadow. Ask yourself, what parts of myself have I been afraid to express? If you're drawn to someone's emotional unavailability, maybe you've been too available, too eager to please. If you're attracted to their mystery, maybe you've been too open, too revealing too quickly. Step 3. Reclaim your energy instead of fantasizing about them. Start fantasizing about yourself embodying those same qualities. What would your life look like if you had unshakable self-confidence? What would you do differently if you felt completely free to be yourself? Step 4. Take action. This is the crucial part. Start small, but start somewhere. If you're obsessed with someone's adventurous spirit, book a solo weekend trip. If you're drawn to their artistic nature, sign up for that painting class you've been thinking about for years. Here's what happens when you do this work. The person you couldn't stop thinking about starts to fade from your mind naturally. Not because you're forcing yourself to forget them, but because you're no longer dependent on them to feel complete. Sarah discovered this after 3 months of focusing on developing her own self-sufficiency. She stopped checking his social media, stopped analyzing his texts, stopped hoping he'd change his mind, and you know what happened? He started reaching out to her. But here's the beautiful part, by then, she didn't want him anymore. She'd found in herself what she'd been seeking in him. The obsession had served its purpose. It had shown her what she needed to develop within herself. That's the magic of understanding Jung's psychology. Your obsessions aren't your weakness, they're your inner wisdom trying to guide you home to yourself. Jung believed that every psychological crisis is actually a spiritual opportunity, a chance to become more whole, more integrated, more authentically yourself. Your obsession with someone who doesn't want you isn't evidence that you're broken or desperate or not enough. It's evidence that you have unlived potential trying to emerge. Your psyche is using the language of attraction to show you what you're ready to develop within yourself. The person you can't stop thinking about is just the messenger. The real message is about reclaiming the parts of yourself you've been too afraid, too conditioned, or too busy to nurture. Here's what I want you to remember. Every great love story starts with learning to love yourself completely, shadows and all. Not in a narcissistic way, but in a deeply integrated way that honors all aspects of your humanity. The next time you find yourself obsessing over someone who's emotionally unavailable, ask yourself, what is this person reflecting back to me about my own unlived life? What parts of myself am I ready to reclaim? Because here's grandmother's promise: the moment you stop looking for someone else to complete you, and start completing yourself, you become magnetic in ways you never imagined possible. Your obsessions aren't the problem, they're the solution disguised as suffering. Listen to what they're trying to teach you, and watch your entire relationship with love transform. What qualities have you been projecting onto others that you're ready to develop in yourself? Share in the comments. Your insight might be exactly what someone else needs to hear, and if this resonated with you, you'll love my deep dive into Carl Jung's concept of the anima and animus, the hidden masculine and feminine energies that shape every relationship you'll ever have. I'll see you there.